So some of you might know that sometimes I get these like channeled messages. I don't know where they come from. I don't know who they're intended for. I just know that they come and I'm supposed to share them. And last night, that was one of them. And I was a little bit actually hesitant about whether or not I was going to share this message or not. But um, I'm dealing with trying to get over this head cold right now, and um, I was laying here just kind of taking it easy in bed, and it just um, like hit me really hard to share this message. So um, I was asked recently, and I think this is why I'm supposed to share this message actually. Um, so I was asked recently about, not really asked, but just kind of involved in a discussion with my 16-year-old daughter, about like glitches in the matrix and timeline shifts and timeline jumping, and how, um, people, like some people talk about how we are living in this like life itself is kind of like this um like virtual reality stimulation type of thing. And we were talking about that a little bit. And I started getting this like downloaded message about how, we see history repeating itself. So people get confused because they're not like they see these they'll they're picking up on these glitches in the matrix, and so they're being able to see beyond what we know of reality and actually being able to see further beyond that, or beyond this virtual reality stimulation that we call reality. And then and they're seeing beyond these things, but then they get pulled back in to this stimulation again, and it tosses up these questions for them on what actually is going on and what really is the reality of this stuff. Um, and then you get like, this is so hard to explain when it's not like coming through as a channel like downloaded message like instantaneously, and sometimes most of the time I'm not in an area or a place to where I can do that. Like I'm literally naked in my bathtub or something like that, so it's a little bit hard to share the message um, when it happens. Or it happens like in the middle of the night, like literally wake up out of a dream and it's just like, whoa, like mind blowing. And of course, everybody in my household is sleeping and I can't just like jump on and like, share this information. So it's so hard to pull it back up like afterwards. But okay, so people start questioning this, what what their reality is. Um, you know, as they're kind of seeing these glitches in the matrix, and then they start experiencing things in a different way and stuff, they're jumping these timelines and everything, and then they're coming back into this virtual reality type of stimulation that we call reality, that we know as reality right now, and coming back into that. And it leaves people just kind of confused as to where they're going, and what's actually happening, what's going on. um, and then you look at like, and people question things about like how, like there's so much healing going on right now in the world. Like so much of that, but then people question it because there's also all of this like hate and all of this like negative stuff going on at the same time. And so people question and get confused about what's actually taking place because of this. But like you always hear the saying of like history repeats itself, and we're in fact repeating history right now. The thing is we're not advancing in technology, we're not advancing in our knowledge or our wisdom or anything that we know. Like we're not becoming smarter beings. We're going back on a timeline. Like we're backtracking. We're not going ahead. We're not going further. We're going backwards. We're literally going back to our original origin. So originally we had all of this knowledge and this wisdom and this know-how and this like like the meaning of life and all this stuff. Like we knew all of that. All of that was already within us. Like we already had all of that knowledge, all of that wisdom. We knew all of that. We had respect for all of that. And as we progressed, and okay, I shouldn't even say progress. So as we aged and went through the years, our minds, like degressed. They kind of instead of getting smarter as we went through the years, we got dumber. Okay? Like literally we started to forget the things that we already knew so much. And most of you are probably like, yeah, okay. Like, that makes sense to like an extent for probably most of you. When you think about it on a much deeper level, we think that we're discovering all these new like technological advances and all of this stuff, and it's like new, like you see the healing and stuff. Okay, most of it like this new age stuff and this holistic medicine's been around forever, right? But then people think that they are discovering new modalities and new ways of healing and new things based off of those ancient modalities and the those original holistic medicines and stuff like that. And it's not anything new. You're bringing back up something that you already knew. So if you think about this like as um like think of it as like a straight line, and you have back here is like your original origin, and this is like your history, and then you're moving across this line, and it's like okay, and then you get to this point and this happens, and then you get here and this happens and this happens, okay, and you start experiencing all these other things. You start experiencing like competition between individuals, between races, whatever. You start to experience your racism and stuff. At the same time you start to like dabble into technology and things like that. You start getting into all of this type of stuff, right? And you start seeing all of these different kinds of situations that are happening in the world, and you're seeing like the disease, and you're seeing like racism, and you're seeing destruction, and you're seeing this, and then it just keeps going and going and going. Well, eventually you hit this point where you there's no more to experience. Like you there you can't go any further. You're done, so but you're still alive, you're still here. So now what happens is as you keep going through in these ages, you're actually backtracking back through the timeline. So you're not really moving forward. Your body is aging, but you're actually moving backwards, back through the timeline. So now we see a repeat of some of these situations that happened in history. So we see this repeat of racism starting to take place again. All these like social situations that we saw happen before, and then we got through those, and we went and we kept going a little bit further, and experiencing something new and something new and something new. Now we're going back and we're re-experiencing what we already have experienced in the past 100,000 years. I mean, we're going backwards now, and we're re-experiencing all of that in order to get back to our original origin. So we're not actually progressing as humans, smarter, or like more knowledgeable. We're not becoming a better species at all. We're staying right where we're at. We're just repeating what it is that we have already like experienced and known. um we're 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 going backwards to repeat what it is that we've already experienced, um that some of us maybe don't remember experiencing because our physical bodies weren't actually like, we weren't in these bodies. So like I don't remember, the whole like big racism stuff that was going on before. I wasn't alive then. So, like I wasn't I didn't I didn't know that stuff. I didn't actually experience it firsthand. So now, because I'm backtracking and because of where I was born on that timeline, I have backtracking back through and experiencing those. Well, my soul is reaching back to its original origin of alignment of where it originated at, you know. So like originated at here in on earth, right? So people that are experiencing these like shifts and are being able to kind of see the through the veil and see the glitches through the matrix and stuff like that, these are people whose soul has already been here. It's already lived here once before. They're the only reason that they're recognizing and seeing these glitches and stuff like that is because they've already been here. They're re-experiencing what they've already experienced once before. It's just that first time around when you're experiencing, and sometimes the second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, ninth, 10th, whatever, you didn't quite comprehend what was taking place or what was going on. So then you end up re-experiencing it again, all over again. So it just is interesting to me because I see people who are, like, and even myself sometimes will, make the mistake of saying that, oh, I just learned that, or like, I just discovered this. But you didn't. You didn't just learn it, and you didn't just discover it either. You've known it this whole time all along. What you did is you resurfaced it. Like, you know, like so it just, and I make that mistake too where like I'll say that, but in reality, like, not even in reality, because what is reality? Right? It doesn't even exist. But in this life, in this time, this timeline, you're experiencing your history all over again. Your timeline, you're not moving through this timeline to go from the beginning to the end of it. It's a cycle. You literally, there's this line, you just keep going. Like, and it's not even a circle, okay? Because you don't reach to the one end and then recircle all the way back to the beginning again. You don't do that. You retrace your steps all over again. You go from where you're at here, and then you start progressing and you get to a point, and then it's like, okay, and then you start experiencing your most recent experiences or your most recent history over again, and then you go a little further and then you experience that history that came before that, and then the one before that, and then the one before that, and the one before that, and you keep doing that until you eventually get back to your original origin where your soul started from. It is then when you've gotten back to that and you've experienced all of that that your entire existence and experience is now done. Like, I don't think you come back after that. I think once you've gone through that whole process, that's it for you. Once you've reached that point of where you have gone through and you've basically repeated history so many times over again and learned all there is to learn about it, that then you're finally that's when this ends for you. That's when it's done. But I also believe that, and actually this isn't even really a belief, this is something that I just flat out know, and I don't, like, I'm not one to sit there and say, hey, I know this, but I actually do know this. Your soul doesn't have to do all of this timeline stuff. It does not have to do that. It can back out of that contract at any given time that it wants to. But the thing is that you, in this human body, you don't get to choose. The ego doesn't get to say, I want to back out. It's the soul that chooses. And you don't know when your soul has chosen that or not. Like, you're not being given that information. Because if you did, your ego would be fighting against what your soul wants. In either way, whether it was to stay or go, your ego would be fighting against it. And so you do not, your soul is not going to allow you to know when it is that it is decided that it's done with the contract and it's leaving and it's backing out and it's done, right? It doesn't tell you when that contract is over. And that is simply for the fact because of the ego's influence, the ego being stepping in there with that. So, and come on, who wants to know anyway? Why would you want to know? Like, like just experience things for what they are instead. I think it's cool, like to go back and then have like experience something and be like, whoa, like this happened before. Like this was like I experienced this. This was literally like something that happened, um, you know, on my timeline. Like I remember this from like a previous life, or I wasn't even born yet, but somehow I remember this. Like my son is 9 years old. He told me the other day that he's older than me because he lived longer. Okay. You know, but that's because he's recalling a past life. And he even told me that he was my that he lived longer than me. He was my mother. So, like this isn't just a 9-year-old story. Like he was dead serious. He's lived before, he's lived longer than me, and he was my mother. Like, okay. And then, my 16-year-old here, who is the one that brought up this whole topic of this living in this virtual reality stimulation and the timeline jumping. And, she's explained things of seeing these glitches in the matrix and seeing beyond what is her reality and stuff. It's cool. It's so awesome to hear these things coming from my kids, um, because I know they're embracing and they're picking up on things that in a previous, earlier on in a previous life on their timeline, they didn't understand. And now they've progressed, they've moved through those experiences, and, they've gone up to that point, and then they've retraced back again to that original, to the point that they're at right now, to where they're recognizing that little gap that they've experienced now multiple times on their way back to that original origin. So, it's really kind of a cool thing, um, to think about when you really sit down and think about it. But I don't know. So the just came out last night, totally out of the blue. My daughter had asked me that, talked about that a little bit with me. We talked for, a half hour or so about it. I went to sleep. I woke up in the middle of the night and it was just like, whoa, like, like here it is, like, because I was on that assumption too of like that you just keep moving forward. Like you keep moving forward and you learn new things and all of this, but you don't keep moving forward. You actually, like, where we are right now, we're not moving forward, we're moving backwards, like back to our original origins and stuff. And you hear people say that, and yes, well, I believe that was true. This came at like a much deeper, um, level for me than what I had originally thought it to be. So anyway, I just wanted to share that with everybody because it's not very often that I actually get to share the things that come up for me. Um, I really don't share them very much at all, but people that actually sit down and talk to me for an extended period of time will, I mean, they'll see me literally start channeling messages and getting these downloads like in person right there. It's just that most people don't spend that much time talking to me to actually, um, get the information. And most of the time, like I said, I'm like butt naked in my bathtub, or like I'm like sleeping and just wake up out of a dead sleep, or in a lot of times driving. That's another time when I'll get these downloaded messages. I don't know why my guides want to give me these messages at the most inconvenient times ever. But that's when they come in, and it's so I oftentimes just skip sharing the messages, or I have to do like I did now and share it at a later time, but then it's a lot harder to bring it back up and explain it than it is, when it's coming through in the present moment. So anyway, I hope this made sense. If it didn't make sense, please, feel free to reach out. I will try to explain it the best I can. Maybe we can get together and have a conversation sometime, and then the downloaded message will come right back for you in the present moment, face to face or something. I don't know. Anyway, that's all. I gotta go.